Hello and welcome to the Berkcast, the How to Train a Dragon podcast. I'm your host, HC, and with me is...
Wolf.
And coming back from previously, and is Wolfie-dragon again.
Hello.
To those who wonder about some fun behind the scenes stuff, we are actually recording this episode mere moments after we recorded the design episodes
You're not supposed to
because...
spoil it for people. You ruined the magic.
Oh, magic's magic. We're a YouTube podcast. But anyway, this week was supposed to be just this episode, and then DreamWorks once again foiled my plans at the last minute. So we had to. So we said let's just do two in a row because why not? But today's topic. Everyone heard about Big Hero 6?
No.
That no. If you're talking about, you know what? If you talk about the comic books, I could agree with you. But seeing how this is also a Disney franchise now, I'm sure people at least heard of it.
Nope.
And Wolf, you talk about ruining the magic. You are ruining my health with your bad jokes. Which you could argue you're doing in order to get back at me for all my terrible jokes. But anyway,
Need a
bigger.
Baymax for that. For your health.
Yeah, I should probably consult a Baymax if I ever had one. But anyway, Big Hero 6, a successful new Disney franchise which premiered with a feature film in 2014, the first Disney movie based on a Marvel property. And a lot of people started drawing comparisons between it and the How to Train a Dragon franchise for, I think, pretty legit reasons. So I said, why not compare the two? We are the How to Train a Dragon podcast. We can talk about stuff that are similar and compare. With that said, this is the inevitable How to Train a Dragon versus Big Hero 6 comparison. So let's start off with what do we think about Big Hero 6 in general? Wolfie-dragon, you're the guest again. Go for it.
It's one of my favorite movies. It's not as it doesn't go as close to my heart as How to Train a Dragon is, but it touches on a lot of topics that for me personally are very close and important. It's about grief, but it's also about like being smart being smarter than usual for your age. It's about technology and how the technology can be used for good and for evil. And it touched on, for a Disney movie, very heavy topics, I think. It touched very much about grief and death and about revenge.
You say for a Disney movie, in every Disney movie, the main character's parents are dead at some point.
Yeah, I mean more like it showed very explicitly the grieving process.
Yeah, I know. I'm just kidding.
Yeah.
It's just the basic joke that people say,
Yeah.
Disney is for kids, and it's like, yeah. Hi, Mufasa. But yeah, I get you. Do you also watch the show or just the movie?
Yes, I watched the show. I liked it a lot, personally.
Okay. Wolf, what about you? What is your experience with Big Hero 6?
So I watched this movie earlier this week for this particular episode of the Berkcast because I hadn't seen it before now. I enjoyed it. It's a lot of fun. As Wolfie-dragon said, it definitely touches on some stuff you wouldn't normally see an animated kids film kind of go into, and it's definitely a very quick scene, but the fact that it still kind of shows the idea of depression and dealing with grief and missing someone who you definitely cared about a lot and who you love dearly, like it goes out of its way to show, even if it's a brief scene compared to the rest of the film, it still goes out of its way to show those moments, which is definitely very interesting. And as far as I'm aware, not something that's done very often in animation, and that was definitely really good. But it's a very fun movie. Baymax was a fun character, more fun than what I expected him to be. So yeah, I definitely had fun with it. I think
Okay.
if I had to say one thing that stood out to me from the movie was the ba la 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 la.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That was
I,
just
I'm
beautiful and wonderful. That got
I
me.
am I'm still I'm actually still using that whenever I bro fist someone in real life.
Yeah.
You're a terrible nerd.
I know. Anyway, here's something you probably didn't expect to hear. I read the comics. I read the original Big Hero 6 comic books.
I read
True.
like the first half of what, or the first issue, I think.
Here's the thing, the comics are split into two. There's the first half, which is pretty much which is how Hero joins the team. And originally in the group, like Fred and Wasabi from the movie are not a part of the original team. They joined in later. Like the group was originally formed by Silver Samurai, and I don't remember who the other guy was, but like Hero, Go-Go, and Honey Lemon are there. And then they got like their own miniseries, which introduced Wasabi and Fred, and also Baymax is a part of the original team as well. But he looks nothing like, and that's one thing I already say off the bat. If there's one thing that Big Hero 6 is very similar to How to Train Your Dragon towards in terms of the movie franchises, is the fact that they bear almost like they are not loyal to their source materials like at all. Like
Yeah.
no, just
Yeah, yeah, from what little I read from the comics, it was really different. A very different franchise, different characters, different setting, really.
yeah. Let's put it like this. When people actually ask me about comparisons to the comic book, the first thing I always say is Tadashi is not in the original comic book, and people's hearts are broken because of that.
Wasn't he like a villain or something?
No,
Sunfire?
no. He's not in the comics at all. Like at least not by name. You could argue that he's based on someone, but Hero is an only child in the comic books. And okay, so the comics are, they're fine for what they are, but the movie I really like. It's in my top 10 favorite Disney movies, and I really like that. I like when it was announced, I was very excited about the fact that Disney buying Marvel wasn't just like a business thing. It just they're like, okay, we can actually use Marvel property for our animated films, because think the action and characters of Marvel with Disney's animation. So that idea itself kind of made me hype for the movie, and I really enjoyed it for that fact that it's pretty much a Marvel movie with Disney's animation. Like, how can you go wrong, really? I will say that the ending pisses me off a bit. Um, we might we might get to it in a second, but the ending kind of pisses me off for the reason that I think it's a plot hole, a very big plot hole. But it doesn't kill the movie by any means, and I also really enjoyed the show that just came out so far. So these are my thoughts on Big Hero 6. And now that we got that out of the way, what about the similarities you've noticed between the two franchises?
Let's say Hero and Hiccup are fairly similar characters. They're both above average intelligent 14, 15-year-olds who very much go against the rules, against what other people expect from them. Who befriend an unusual non-human person, I'd say.
Yeah, so Hiccup and Hero are pretty similar characters.
They're both inventors.
Yeah, they're inventors. They're very science-focused, very creative.
Also, there's something about the test flight scene from How to Train Your Dragon and the test flight scene from Big Hero 6 that's very similar, even down to dialogue lines, if you've noticed.
Yeah, I say superficially they are, but they are also, I think they represent very different things. The theme is very different. And also,
Yeah.
How to Train Your Dragon wasn't really the first movie to even invent the flight scene.
Oh,
Like I
no, no, no,
recently
no.
watched Harry Potter, the third movie, and there's this scene
Oh, yeah.
early on where Harry flies on Buckbeak, and
Mhm.
I recently rewatched it, and it struck me how incredibly similar this is to the
Right?
flight scene from How
The
to Train Your
Iron
Dragon.
Giant does something similar too. Like, I don't think. I think it's just a thing with Hollywood movies, animated or not. Everyone does flight the same way.
Yeah, people love flight. It's wonder, it's
Yeah.
discovery. It represents a lot of things.
Not
Yeah, but here's the
complaining. It's
thing.
just a thing I've noticed
Yeah,
over the years. Like everyone
Yeah,
does
but
flight in a
there
similar
is there's
manner.
still a way to shoot flight that makes it look engaging
Sure,
and cool.
sure.
And both films do that very well. But there's something that is similar yet a bit different in both of those scenes. Like because in in How to Train Dragon, it's two different let's for the sake of the argument, let's say two different people, even though this is not people, but you know what I mean.
yeah,
It's two different characters trying to work together to achieve the same goal. In Big Hero 6, it's like the healthcare robot wants to make his patient feel better, so he goes along with it. And yeah, and both of them end with with the maneuvering between with How to Train Dragon it's rocks, with Big Hero 6 it's the wind turbines. And so, even though they are similar, both of them are trying to achieve different things. So, and I think that's the best way I can really talk about the comparisons between the two movies. They are similar, but they are trying to do different things to some degree.
yeah. I think it's just like the really just the flying itself is I think the biggest similarity, but it's the scene is just about very different things. Their journeys are
Mhm.
very different at this moment.
Yeah, yeah. It like you said, it's very different thematically, and it means different things to both characters.
Mhm.
And it also means different things to all four characters. Really, it means different things to Baymax and Toothless as it does to Hero and Hiccup.
Yeah. But as much as people already like from the start said that Fred is like a tough nut. TJ Miller world standing,
I mean,
uh,
it's T.J. Miller kind of playing T.J. Miller. He kind of does that in all of his roles, and we let him do
yeah,
it
Yeah,
because T.J. Miller doing T.J. Miller is pretty decent for the most part. You
yeah.
can't really go wrong.
yeah. I think it's more like with a team of 5 or 6 members, you always get like a goofball character and a very serious character, and
Mhm.
But here's what I want to say, that you have the comparisons between Toughnut and Fred, because not just TJ, even if it wasn't TJ Miller doing the voice, you would still compare the two. because
yeah,
you know because TJ Miller doesn't reprise Fred for the show, and I still get Tough Nut vibes from him,
Mhm.
even though
oh
it's not.
yes,
But then again, there's also like people have compared Gogo to Astrid, which I get to a degree. But other than that, the character, like Big Hero 6 cast is not really similar to How to Train Dragons. Like,
yeah.
I can compare Honey Lemon to anyone, or Wasabi to
Yeah, and
anyone.
even Go-Go to Astrid, I'd say they kind of have different motivations.
I
And
won't
like
really
the
say
like
motivations, but
superficially, yeah, I
but
think it's
Astrid is a bit more playful, while Gogo is a bit more no nonsense, and just she keeps a
yeah.
lot of it to herself. She doesn't talk much, which is why she's my favorite character in the movie. She's the cool one.
Yeah, yeah. I mean like Astrid's go-go-ish behavior is more like from her pressure in the first movie, I think, rather than being a very intrinsic part of her character.
They might also make the comparison because of the second movie and Astrid being a little bit more flamboyant and working with Stormfly somewhat, and being more acrobatic and things of that nature, and taking a few more risks and just having a lot more fun in terms of again, just flying in general. Like, that might also be where that comparison comes from as well. And Wasabi, to a degree, I can if someone said Wasabi reminded them of fish legs to some degree, I could see it and understand it, but there's also a lot of differences there that doesn't really add up either.
Yeah. So yeah, there are. I think another thing that kind of falls into the similarities, and this is interesting because, like, when the trailer for Big Hero 6, the very, very first trailer, I'm not sure if you've seen it. I'm not sure. Have you seen the teaser trailer for it?
Probably, but I'm not sure like what it would contain. I've seen a lot of trailers, so.
Okay, so the very first one was pretty much Hero seeing Baymax's like a vanilla design, just the white robot, and then like he looks on and he wants to like make the armor for him, so he puts the armor on, kind of like in the montage scene from the movie.
Yeah, and then when he like bounces back and stuff.
Yeah. So when that trailer was released, a lot of people thought How to Train Your Dragon because the trailer was just animation and no voice acting. So a lot of people quickly came to that How to Train Your Dragon feeling. And also, maybe it just because they came out in the same year, but both How to Train Your Dragon 2 and this film had a scene where the cute mascot, like the character that sells the merchandise, Toothless and Baymax respectively, there's a scene of them like being evil, if you know what I mean.
Very scary.
Yeah.
And yeah, both scenes like do the same thing, but very, very differently, because in Toothless's case, he's being mind controlled to kill his best friend, and then eventually the father steps in the way and he kills the father. But they play off the more horror aspect of it, that because he walks really slowly and his eyes are all, and like his look is all zombified, and
it's a rabid animal is what it's supposed to look like. A feral animal that's gone rabid.
Yeah. And while in Big Hero 6, when it's been done, it just someone changes the program. Someone messes with the program, and that someone is the hero of the movie who is in a moment of rage. But not only that, when Baymax is in his monster mode, let's call it that, notice that he hurts a lot more people than Toothless does in the movie.
Toothless doesn't hurt someone. Toothless kills someone.
Yeah, but that's the thing though, that Baymax does all of the holding in the because they are in the way. Toothless has no one in the way, but the impact is stronger because he actually kills someone. Baymax just hurts someone, people, but it does hurt that these people are his friends of his creator and his operator at this moment. You know what I mean? Very similar scenes, but done very differently.
Yeah, I think, they're about different things as well. Just like with the fly scene, I think also an important part of the Baymax scene is the music. Basically, the music becomes louder and louder and louder until it drowns out everything else. And you can't hear the team screaming for him to stop anymore. And I think it's very much almost from the point of view of Baymax. There's like when he's reactivated, it immediately cuts to his view, not Hero's or not Professor Callahan's, but it's very much Baymax's point of view. Well, the Toothless scene was very much Hiccup's point of view, I think.
We do see Toothless' point of view though, where Hiccup is just this shape that he can't recognize.
But after that, everything kind of still remains from Hiccup's point of view. Like they don't shoot.
Okay, yeah.
The music doesn't become overpowering. They still shoot everything from Hiccup's point of view. Kind of, again, the camera angle isn't specifically from Hiccup's point of view, but what you're supposed to see things as are more of how Hiccup would see things. And the way you're supposed to see things in Big Hero 6 is the way Baymax would kind of be experiencing things right now, where he's very much consumed by the rage that he's consumed by, and just the order that he was given, which was to kill Dr. Callahan. Yeah. And so that's why the music becomes overpowering, and you can't hear any more of the VA work or anything, hardly at all.
Mm-hmm.
The one that I think probably remains the most legible is Hero.
Yeah. Because for that specific scene, he's pretty much the villain. He's the one in the wrong. Kind of.
Yeah.
And it also,
he becomes no different from the villain, at least.
Yeah, and also another reason why he would stay more legible is because he's the person Baymax would listen to. So Baymax would hear his voice more clearly over anyone else's.
Yeah. I just noticed that we kind of do mix the similarities and differences categories, which is cool.
Well, for that one thing, I can point out one similarity between the two movies.
Go ahead.
Both of our main characters have a family member die in a fiery explosion.
Yeah. And actually,
both of our main characters have family members who love to run towards the fiery explosions.
Yeah, I would say that for Hero, that's the start of his journey, and for Hiccup, it's pretty much the end of his journey.
Yeah, and that's something that
the end of one journey, maybe the beginning of another for him in some ways.
Yeah. To be fair, though, I don't think there's a bigger theme, but more like if you do blood in an animated movie, your rating goes up. So it's easier, it's better, like it allows you to reach a bigger audience if you use fire and burns, because it allows you to show an injury, but not do blood.
Yeah.
That's actually something that people say when they say Big Hero 6 is like a more adult movie, and like you said, that it has mature themes and stuff. I agree with this. Don't get me wrong, but when it comes to show death, then How to Train Your Dragon 2 kind of takes the cake on that one, because you actually see the body, and in Big Hero 6 you are just left to assume, okay, there's nothing left. He's ashes at this point, because
Yeah, that's just a cap.
I mean, one you could probably one thing that I'm sure you'll hear people argue though is that for Big Hero 6 it's more meaningful because again you see the explosion, he's gone. In How to Train Your Dragon 2, you see a giant dragon get gored, but you see the body laying there, but then there's nothing after that, and you even see kind of like it's where it would have been stabbed at, but it looks like it's perfectly fine. It's just laying there. It can definitely take you out a bit of that experience.
But you see the plasma blast hit him.
Yeah.
I'm talking about the Wildebeest at this point. When the evil Wildebeest kills the good Wildebeest, you see where it would have been stabbed at, but you don't see a wound at all. And you can kind of say, for Stoic, they do a bit better about hiding where he was hit at. Like, you don't see where he would have been hit at, so you can't see, like, any kind of wound. So you just kind of have to assume. But the Wildebeest, like, they give you, it's very brief, but there is a shot of where you can see where it would have been stabbed at, and you see nothing there, practically. Which can definitely take people out somewhat, so I can understand how they might say Big Hero 6 is more meaningful than How to Train Your Dragon 2 per se, at least in that particular death, because again, suspension of disbelief, you can see where it was wounded. There doesn't look to be like a wound there, so you kind of lose the moment a little bit, essentially.
I would say something. I had something, and what was it? I had when this happened, that you have a point and then you lose it. Okay, I remembered. Something that is interesting when you're comparing the two movies is that in Big Hero 6, Hero's character arc in a sense. Like him growing up is him learning to become more like Tadashi. And you notice that he actually starts using the same words as Tadashi and accept like his world belief, like someone has to go to help or look at it in a different angle, stuff like that. Well, Hiccup's main journey is that he wants to be like Stoic, but then he realizes that he doesn't need to be like Stoic. He needs to be his own thing, and that's his growth. And there's something that I connect more with Hiccup's journey than Hero's, but both journeys are really well done, and both are are good lessons in their own right.
Yeah. For me personally, I connect a lot with Hero because this might sound arrogant, but basically, especially in elementary school, I was always ahead of the class a lot. You know, I was put in special classes, and then you get treated very differently, and there's a lot of different expectations. Like, you know, you gotta go to a good school, you gotta study hard, you gotta become this great inventor and do something. And I think Hero's journey was very much that he saw Tadashi do that, and he didn't want that. Basically, he didn't want people controlling what he was doing. And then Tadashi dies, and he regrets that, because I think at first he thought that him trying to go to the university and be at the science fair led to Tadashi's death. And I think it's a very different journey of expectations, of like pressure. Because I think Tadashi also wanted Hero to be something he wasn't at first, or at least something he didn't think he was.
But then again, his motivation for being a superhero in the end, though, is his brother wanted to help a lot of people. So in a sense, Tadashi did influence what he'd become, in a sense.
Yeah, and he does end up going to the university and, you know, just doing his classes and working on Baymax more. Just like Hiccup becomes chief and finds that he's actually pretty good at it.
Yeah. If I may talk about a big difference, in my opinion, is actually when you start taking the shows into consideration. And this may be an unfair comparison because Race to the Edge is over and Big Hero 6 is just halfway through its first season. But, you know, looking at this too, because we are talking about comparisons here, and people drew comparisons. Even when the Big Hero 6 TV show was announced, a lot of people brought up the How to Train a Dragon show. So I think it's fair. It'll be interesting to talk about that. Both similar franchises, but two shows that are trying to pull off very different things, because, you know, comparing the two shows without that connection, it's like comparing Avatar: The Last Airbender to Teen Titans. There's two shows trying to do two different things, and so in that sense, I think it's it's kind of unfair to compare the two shows. But but there is something that I do give Dragons a bit more credit for than Big Hero 6, and maybe that's something they can still fix in future episodes. And Wolfie-dragon saw the show. Maybe he agrees with me, maybe he doesn't. We'll know in a bit. And that's the main problem a lot of people have with the movie, is that it's called Big Hero 6, but we're focusing only on Hero and Baymax. So in a show, you can focus on the other characters. You know, you can give them different episodes and arcs and potential arch enemies and everything. And yet the show never really went full on with it, with that potential. Like, like it still seems that the main focus is on Hero, and even if we are trying to develop the other characters, there's always a bit of a hero plot in the episode, and it's like, don't get me wrong, I like Hero as a character just fine, and actually there's one episode that focuses on him which I like from the show, but then again it's like we have 4 other characters we can develop. So why aren't we doing this? And in How to Train Dragon, you could argue that this limit doesn't really exist because the title doesn't promise you to focus on the other riders, but then there are episodes which focus on them and give them some development, even if the Fish Legs episodes are a bit repetitive. So this is one thing I'll give the Dragons show over the Big Hero 6 show. But that's just me.
Yeah, I can see what you mean. The Big Hero 6 show it's very much from Hero's point of view, and it's very much about his journey. Because also I think the difference is that the other characters are already adults. They've already grown up. Their relationship with Hero is more asymmetric, while the Dragon Riders are more growing up together and figuring this stuff out together.
Yeah, but at the same time, even at 20 years of age, you can still learn new stuff. You can still...
Oh, yes.
Because, there's an episode where... there's an episode where, there are the 2 girls, mom and a daughter, I think, high voltage. So this was supposed to be the Go-Go episode, which I am all for. But then the Go-Go plot doesn't really seem to go anywhere, except that she finds a way to beat these 2. And then most of the plot is about Hero communicating with that girl who has a crush on his superhero side, but not his regular side. Which by the way, this is a nitpick for me. But them having secret identities is kind of dumb, if you ask me.
Yeah, the show lampshades that as well. That everyone really should know, but no one figures it out. But I think that episode...
Because other than Fred, none of them wears a mask. You can see right through it, people.
Yeah, and they use their regular names. Like they just say, Wasabi and Fred and Hero.
Well, I mean, those are nicknames. They wouldn't exactly know their... Except for Hero. Hero uses his regular name.
Yeah,
they have a big robot, and these people have a big robot hanging out with them. I wonder...
Yeah, I think it's just something.
There's definitely no connection there whatsoever. I would never have known it.
It's almost as bad as people not know. It's almost like people not realizing Peter Parker and Spider-Man are never in the same room together. It's like, will somebody wake up?
It's more like, it's like Miraculous Ladybug, where no one realizes Adrian is Chat Noir. And,
if you want the more egregious example that everyone will go to, it's superhero and it's Superman and Clark Kent, right?
Yeah.
I take off my glasses. Obviously, I'm not the same person anymore. I look nothing like that other guy who wears glasses now.
To be fair, that is an actual effect that happens in real life with actors who are never not recognized, because you just wouldn't expect to meet that person in real life.
Mm-hmm.
Like you can walk down the street and see Barack Obama. You wouldn't. You
might recognize him, but
you probably think like, oh, that's probably just someone who looks like Barack Obama, rather than, oh, that's actually Barack Obama.
Yeah.
You generally have to keep up with people really well, and sometimes like sound will play a part in that. Remember, it's like, oh, that's that person. I know who they are now because I heard their voice.
Yeah.
But when you first see them, you might take it. You may not take a double glance until a few seconds afterward, where it registers. Wait a second, that person looks really familiar to, and then you might realize it. But at first, you may pay no attention to it whatsoever. Yeah, that is a thing that can and does happen to people.
People should really be realizing it. It's a liberty that the show takes. I would say
the point even the characters kind of call people out on it.
Yeah, it's like it's sort of hand waved away when Carmi doesn't recognize Hero, and Fred just says like, "Yeah, that's a thing that happens apparently."
Yeah,
It-
and so that's my little
yeah,
comparison between the two shows, even though, like I said, they are pretty different.
yeah. I would
Uh,
like to say one thing about you saying the character folks. I would say the show doesn't have a lot of episodes out. It's like 10 episodes, and
yeah,
then if you look at Riders of Berk, for instance, what
There's
happened in those first 10 episodes, that's also not a lot of focus on random characters, I think. It's
Mm,
very much Hiccup and Astrid and Hiccup and Pip.
yeah, yeah. Again, like I said, future episodes can actually fix that. So that's why I'm saying
Yeah.
my opinion on it is that it could be changed when future episodes air. And also, this is not to knock out the Big Hero 6 show at all. Like, I think if you like the movie, then the show is for you. Definitely watch it. It's more adventures with these characters, and most of the voice actors are back as well. So
Yeah.
that's awesome. And also, you know what? There's one thing I'll give the Big Hero 6 show over Dragons any day of the week. Dragons didn't have Gordon Ramsay as a guest voice.
That was very freaking good.
I mean, yeah, there's no reason for Gordon Ramsay to be in How to Train a Dragon, but hey, I'll give credit when I can. Gordon Ramsay is in the Big Hero 6 show, and that's freaking awesome.
there's still a chance we could see Gordon Ramsay in How to Train Your Dragon though.
He'll cook chicken.
Tough Nuts. He is Tough
Oh
Nuts'
my
arch
God.
enemy.
The chicken is raw. What do you mean raw? It's alive. That's what I mean.
Although, let's be honest, I think we would all love to hear Gordon Ramsay do the idiot sandwich thing to Hiccup at least once.
What are you? An idiot chief? An idiot chief what?
We would all love to hear and see that in animated form, Hiccup and Gordon Ramsay going
Yeah.
through that. That'd be great.
Hiccup versus Gordon Ramsay. My
Yeah.
God, I would pay a good amount to actually see that. Like, take my credit card, do whatever the hell you want with it, just give it to me. Okay.
You heard,
So,
Dean.
yeah, Din de Blah, your call. Balls on your court.
Yeah.
Anyway, so we talked about the similarities and differences. Now,
Are
May
there
I
any?
the
raise
big
some?
question.
May I have some other
Oh,
points?
okay,
Yeah.
sure. Go ahead.
One thing I liked about Big Hero 6 versus How to Train Dragon is that there's no romance in Big Hero 6. Like, I love
Well-
it. It's one of my favorite pairings, but we have to admit that it's a little rushed in the first movie.
Mhm.
It just kind of happens very fast.
Somewhere out there, a
Yeah.
faint cry from Rush was heard.
That's
He feels
Big
the
Hero
pain.
6 is like Hero doesn't necessarily need a love interest. He's just like,
Do you think
and
actually
it's not
Carmi in the
hinted
show?
at. It's not teased like, oh, this girl is falling for Hero. It's not a
I
stuff.
agree. Actually, do you think they'll go that route with Carmi?
Yeah, sort of. I think it's almost. I'm not sure if they're actually going for romance there. It's not really been brought up. It's almost, I think, almost a running gag. I think that she's deeply in love with his superhero character, but hates his actual character. So maybe she
So
finds out.
typical. What's the difference between Peter Parker and Spider-Man? Spider-Man gets the girl.
Yeah, I don't think. Yeah, but what I'm trying to say is mostly that if she realizes that Hero is the superhero, then I don't think she would immediately start liking Hero, but rather dislike the superhero.
You know, my favorite hero ship is Maris from the comic book miniseries. Kami is similar to her in a few things. Like she's smart, she's as smart as Hero, and she's a bit sarcastic. But Maris and Hero are a bit more adorable together, I think.
I ship her with Pitch from Voltron.
haven't seen Voltron, so I'll take your vote for it.
She's also kind of a nerd.
Okay. So if we're done with the similarities and differences,
I have one little point here is that Big Hero 6 had a very different approach to its villain than How to Train Your Dragon. In How to Train Your Dragon, it was a very sort of nameless villain without any deep motivations, or like it was just a sort of a beast, a mindless beast.
Yeah, it's nature.
It's nature.
As I've said before, I think the villain is very much kind of it's less a villain and more just an obstacle that the hero has to overcome, which that is change.
Yeah.
That stubbornness to change, that unwillingness to change, like that's what Hiccup has to come over. So there's no real form for that to take other than kind of stoic, and then the Red Death representing the dragons needing the change, and stoic representing the Vikings needing the change in different ways.
Yeah, I think for Hero it's more about him overcoming his grief and anger, and then also maybe not forgiving Callahan exactly, but not continuing to fight him, where he stops in the final battle. He flies at him with Baymax and the fist goes out, but it stops right before him.
And then also learning that even though, this person did something wrong to him, it still wouldn't make it right to not go out of his way to save that person's own daughter, right? Very easily, like he's still filled with revenge. He very easily could have said, no, screw you, you killed my brother, why should I help you?
Yeah.
But he doesn't.
Yeah, that's the character growth. Anything else?
Not really.
Okay, so the question of all questions. Would you want a Toothless or a Baymax?
This is a really difficult question.
Oh, I'll easily answer that. Toothless. Dragons, better. I just don't want a robot following me around all the time saying, you feel sad right now. Let me help. No, don't help. I want to feel sad. Leave me alone.
Fallen.
Yeah, that's actually one of my favorite moments from the film is that when Hero tries to get up and his toys keep falling on him on a scale of ow, on a scale of ow, on a scale of...
That was also a really good moment. But yeah, I don't want that because I'm fairly clumsy at times. I would probably end up all the time with that robot going, hey, you need help. No, I don't. I just walked into a wall, accidentally stubbed my toe or something. I'm good.
Yeah.
Leave me alone.
He's a big source of embarrassment, I think, because there's a great joke in the show where Hero talks to Carmi, so Carmi likes him, and the plot is basically that they've been at each other's throats all the time, and Hero wants them to be friends. So he's like, there's a lot of things that are similar between us. Like, we're both young, we're both geniuses, and then Baymax butts in, and he's like, another thing that's similar is the flood of pubescent hormones in your bodies. And Hero just shoves him away like, okay, that's enough. So yeah, you don't really want that following you around all the time, I guess.
Actually, if we can just name another fun part from the movie, because we don't get that option a lot, is that when, spoilers, Callahan is chasing Hero and Baymax at the beginning, and Hero tells Baymax, kick the door, and he punch it, and he has that mini heart attack that's like, oh, I love that. It's awesome. So yeah, so for that reason, I will, on the one hand, the obvious option is Toothless because,
dragon cool, and flying, fire.
Yeah, and also in a sense that, with Toothless I could probably interact more than Baymax, because Baymax is pretty much I'm talking to and he's like, okay, sure, how can I make you feel better about it? It's like a constant psychologist going around, and sometimes I don't want a psychologist, I want a friend. So Toothless is more fitting in that regard. But then again, if I want a Toothless, I have my dog. He can fly, yeah, but it's
then your dog's not as cool. Your dog is obviously to a lesser quality than Toothless. He's not as good.
But he's as adorable, which is what counts.
No.
So
Right? Yeah.
Failed. Dog can't fly. Dog can't breathe fire. Failure. Put it
can
this
your
way.
dog fly?
Look at it like this, right? If you ever want to answer this question, ask yourself this: you come up to a party flying a dragon, or you come up to a party with Baymax by your side?
Okay, I'll take the dragon. Yeah, so
My final
don't get me
answer.
wrong, it will be nice to have a Baymax take care of you when you're sick, but on every other occasion, I'll pick Toothless.
My final answer is Toothless for the happy times and Baymax for the sad times.
Yeah, I can see it. I think you could also have a lot of being, considering Baymax a little bit more, though, like giving him more credit. Like you could definitely have a lot of fun with Baymax. I think, in terms of there'll be a lot of moments where, again, like with what you see with Hero, where you'll have those moments where he does something that's not necessarily helpful, but when you look back on it, it'll definitely be something you will laugh about and have fun about. And that being a major one.
Among other things.
Among others, yeah.
Baymax, walk down a pool. Would falling down the pool make you feel any better? Yes.
So,
okay.
like, there's definitely benefits and negatives to either one.
Mm-hmm. I think, but final option might be Toothless for me.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so the answer is probably obvious for this one, but which franchise do you prefer out of the two?
How to Train Your Dragon. I think at least the movies. I've been here before to talk about how I feel about the show, but I think, yeah, the movies mean a lot to me personally, and though Big Hero 6 also means a lot to me, it's in a different way, I think.
Mm-hmm.
I'll agree. How to Train Your Dragon touches me a bit more, and in terms of growth, in terms of the journey. Big Hero 6 is a great movie, and I'll definitely recommend it. But like, there's a reason why I'm making the Berkcast and not the San Francisco cast. Let's say it like this.
To be a little fair to Big Hero 6, there is only one movie for Big Hero 6, while there's two, soon to be three movies for How to Train Your Dragon, and that does make a bit of a difference. But I think even if they did release a second Big Hero 6 movie, I think I would still prefer How to Train Your Dragon more, because I can kind of picture in my head what they may and may not do with the second Big Hero 6 movie, and that just interests me a little bit less than How to Train Your Dragon does, as of right now.
Yeah, I kind of agree. And again, Big Hero 6 is a great movie. Definitely recommend that if someone who's listening to this haven't seen it yet, definitely go check it out. For a fun time. But I just...
Yes, there's one thing about that is that I think in 2014, 2015, with the whole Oscar rivalry, I think that caused a lot of, unfair, I wouldn't say hate exactly, but maybe
harsh feelings,
frustration with Big Hero 6 from the How to Train Your Dragon fandom. Yeah. And I think that's
I don't agree with that choice as well, especially when you take into account the voters' reasons for choosing Big Hero 6. But at the end of the day, the Oscars don't really matter in that regard.
For animation.
Yeah, every once in a while, you know what? After this year, which don't get me wrong, Coco is a fantastic movie and definitely deserves every award it won. But when you look at the nominations list, like you go Batman and Captain Underpants out, but you put Boss Baby in. I mean, come on, who fucked up there? This is
also another.
This is a no. This is not a correct.
Yeah, and there was also another movie there was called Loving Vincent, which I saw, which was really a work of art. I love Coco. It's one of my favorite movies. But Loving Vincent, I think that deserved the Oscar because that was just art. It was beautifully made, very unique style. So yeah, the Oscars for animations are kind of dumb because none of the voters watch it pretty much.
Yeah.
So they just cross in whatever they know.
Like, every year there seems to be like one year the movie that most people agree with wins. One year the movie most people don't agree with wins. So, and you could argue that's the thing with the Oscars any year in any category, but there's something about the animation category that seems like
Always off.
we made it. Speaking of which, on How to
easiest
Train a Dragon
example,
with the Oscars,
Go ahead.
yeah, go ahead. Okay, I'll just finish this quick. That in the Oscars for 2010, How to Train a Dragon was nominated for Best Animated Feature with Toy Story 3. Now, Toy Story 3 is a fantastic movie as well. Don't get me wrong, I love it. But when that movie is also nominated for Best Adapted Screenplay and Best Movie overall, it's not a fair fight.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Like, what would win in that situation? Come on.
I mean, yeah, the Oscars are, just to quickly sum it up, as you said, why are we comparing Coco to The Boss Baby? Why are we comparing why is Boss Baby even in the same category as Vincent and Coco? Like, at the very least, I can understand Coco and Vincent kind of being side by side one another because both films are very good. One's definitely more one I would consider more art than the other, but they're still great movies, both in their own rights. But the Boss Baby standing beside either of those two, why? Why is that even a thing, right? So, yeah, the Oscars are very much something. Don't take them so seriously. Just ignore them most of the time. You'll be better off for it.
Yeah. So, like, even if you are the most massive How to Train a Dragon fan, you kind of boycott Big Hero 6 because of that thing, don't. Big Hero 6 is still a fun movie that should be watched.
I mean, who's the actor who's been nominated, like, I don't know how many times, but he's never won in a single Oscar award?
Well, there was
Leonardo DiCaprio.
Yes,
though he did win eventually.
he's only won one, but he's been nominated for so many different ones that he quite
You
literally
know,
deserved and never got it until recently. And the one he got it for, I think, was pretty.
The Revenant, I think it was.
Yeah.
Yeah. The funniest thing about it is that the night of the Oscars he won, somebody posted a picture of his desktop with two folders in case Leo wins, in case Leo loses. And after he won, I remember someone posted a picture of him from Inception looking at the thing. He's like, please fall, please fall, please fall. If you've seen the movie, you know why that falls. Great.
Yeah,
So,
I think it's kind of silly that there's a rivalry, I guess.
No,
I mean, I think if
just-
Big Hero 6 was released around the time when, was it called The Rise of the Brave Tangled Dragons was big, I think it would have been included in that probably.
Some people did draw those comparisons. Like, I think I've even seen like a kind of a fandom for Hiccup, Jack Frost, and Hero, like those three specifically.
Yeah, I could see them friends.
And I've seen all the Elsa and Tadashi ships, and I'm like, how in the hell is that possible, people?
He's dead. It's the same way It's the same way people ship Stoic and Volca.
But she has ice power. She can freeze the fire.
No, I mean it in the sense that she lived in like the 1800s, and Big Hero 6 is modern times, near future-ish.
I don't know. Hijack is also like the biggest ship on Archive of Our Own, and there's also hundreds of years.
I mean, here's the thing, HC. Love knows no bounds. Why should time hold love back?
You know what?
Tadashi could always invent a time machine.
No, I just want to say I can't I can come up with a sarcastic way to argue with you. You win.
So have at it, shippers. Do whatever you want to do.
Man, I had something to say. What was it? Oh well, I think I pretty much said everything I have to say regarding this. Actually, I remembered one last thing. Fun thing to note: one of Big Hero 6's co-directors, Chris Williams, is actually good friends within the blah, and they took pictures at the Oscars and didn't even send him a picture of him with someone cosplaying as Callahan. So that's cool.
Nice.
And hopefully this will probably mean that we'll get a crossover one day, because I would pay to see that. Okay, so that's been all for this episode of the... actually, anything else you want to say?
Not really.
These are both great films, and you should watch them both if you ever get the chance.
Yep.
Yeah.
So that's been all for this episode of the Berkcast. We hope you enjoyed. What are your thoughts on Big Hero 6? What do you find similar and different? Would you want a Tutus or a Baymax? Tell us all about it in the comment section below, on our Berkcast team Tumblr page. On Twitter, we are Berkcast with capital B, capital C. And we can also discuss this on the How to Train Dragon Discord and the Berkforeman forums. So until next time, I was HC.
And I've been Wolf.
And I'm Wolfie-dragon.
And we will see you all next time. We hope you're satisfied with your care, and blah 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 blah.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.